Parliament says the House cannot consider the agreement on the U.S.-Ghana military cooperation currently before the House because it has not been signed by the various parties. The Defence and Interior, as well as Constitution and Legal Affairs Committees in Parliament, are currently meeting the Defence and Interior Ministers, who are briefing them on the agreement. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins me from Parliament on the line now. Hello, Joseph. We've lost Joseph, but we'll raise him back on the line to bring you up to speed on what's happening. But let's go to the Defense Ministry. Well, those are pictures coming to you live from the Defense Ministry. The Information Minister has taken his seat. We'll be live there once the Defense Minister takes his seat and starts addressing the press conference. We can now go to the Defense Ministry, where they are set to explain what really Ghana gets from the agreements between this country and the United States of America.
We have an agreement that has been here at the Ministry of Defense for quite a while. It was been here for up to a year, which is an agreement on the defense cooperation, the status of the United States forces, and access to and use of agreed facilities and areas in the Republic of Ghana. This agreement is premised on two earlier agreements that Ghana signed. That is the reason why, when the agreement was coming, there was a preamble to that agreement, and the preamble spelled out exactly the locus of why the United States of America brought this agreement. And under the preamble, I will read just the last paragraph. And it states, recalling the acquisition and cross-serving agreement between the government of the United States of America, represented by the United States Department of Defense, and the government of the Republic of Ghana, represented by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, signed at Stuttgart, Germany on the 13th of April and Accra on the 28th of April, and entered into force on the 28th of April 2015. So as far as the Americans are concerned, we had signed an agreement as a country in Stuttgart, in Accra, which has entered into force on the 28th of April 2015, called the Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement. And based on that, they brought the status agreement for us to have a look at. Bearing in mind that Ghana already has the status of force agreement called SOFA, S-O-F-A, that was signed on the 24th of February 1998 through what we call a note verbal. We exchanged note verbal, and we agreed that with the note verbal, it was an agreement. And I will read just a part of the note verbal that has been working for the past 20 years. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, I said that the new agreement, which is an enhanced defense agreement, is premised on two legs. One is the 1998 agreement, and two, which is the note verbal, and two, the 2015 agreement that Ghana signed to by our then Foreign Minister, Hannah Tete. And I'll show you both documents. But what did our Foreign Ministry say in the 1998 agreement? If you give me time, I will say a few things about that. And let me read. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana presents its compliment to the Embassy of the United States of America, and has the honor to refer to the Embassy's Note 121 dated 24th November 1997, which reads as follows. The Embassy of the United States of America presents its compliment to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana, and has the honor to refer to the recent discussion between the representatives of the two governments regarding issues related to U.S. military personnel and civilian employees of the U.S. Department of Defense, and who may temporarily be present in Ghana in connection with the African Crisis Response Initiative and other activities as may have be agreed upon by our two governments. As a result of these discussions, the Embassy has the pleasure to propose that such personnel be accorded the equivalent to that accorded the administrative and technical staff of the United States Embassy under the Vienna Convention and Diplomatic Relations of 18 April 1961, immunity, and that they may enter and exit Ghana with United States identification and with collective movement of individuals or travel orders. 1998. Ladies and gentlemen, I continue with the message from the Embassy that our own people are writing. The Embassy further proposes that such personnel be authorized to wear uniforms while performing official duties and to carry arms whilst on duty if authorized to do so by their orders, and that the government of Ghana accord duty-free importation and the exportation as well as exemption from internal taxation on products, property, materials, internal taxation on products, property, materials, and equipment imported into or acquired in Ghana by the United States of Ghana in connection with their official activities. Vehicles, vessels, and aircraft owned or operated by or exclusively for the United States forces shall not be subject to the payment of landing or port fees, pilotage charges, navigation or overflight charges, or light and harbor duties whilst in Ghana. However, the United States forces shall pay reasonable charges for services requested and received. Such aircraft shall observe local air traffic control regulations while in Ghana. Such vessels shall not be subject to compulsory pilotage at Ghanaian ports. Finally, the Embassy proposes that both governments waive any and all claims other than contractual claims against each other for damage, loss, or destruction of property of the Department of Defense of the United States or the property of the Ministry of Defense of Ghana arising out of activities related to official duties, or for injury or death suffered by military personnel while engaged in the performance of their official duty. 1998. If the foregoing, the Americans are still writing to us, if the foregoing is acceptable to the government of Ghana, the Embassy has the honor to propose that this note, together with the ministry's reply, shall constitute an agreement between the governments which shall enter into force on the date of the ministry's reply. Our ministry is still writing. The Embassy of the United States of America avails itself of this opportunity to renew to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana the assurance of the highest consideration. Signed, November 24th, 1997. Our ministry continues. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has the further honor to inform the Embassy of the United States that the proposals set forth in the Embassy's note are acceptable to the government of Ghana, and to confirm that the Embassy's note and this shall constitute an agreement between the two governments and which shall come into force on this date. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Ghana avails itself of this opportunity to renew the Embassy of the United States of America the assurances of the order. 23rd February 1998. So, immunity, tax clearance, death, entry with ID card, all has already been given in an agreement that was signed in 1998 by the government of the Republic of Ghana, called status of force agreement. So the new agreement that we are looking at, there is nothing new in that new agreement. All the Americans have done is to copy what we already have signed to and are dealing with it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Americans also premised their argument on a document called Acquisition and Cross-Servicing Agreement that we signed in Stuttgart, Germany. Of course, you all know that this agreement, this is the first time that we're all seeing it. It's alien to us. It never went to Parliament. It's all alien to us. And this agreement was signed by our then Foreign Minister, Hannah Tete, Honorable Hannah Tete, on behalf of Ghana. And this is the agreement that was signed by us in Stuttgart in 2015, April 2015. In fact, let me look at the date that we signed this agreement. 13th April 2015, James C. Vechiri, Brigadier General, U.S. Air Force, Director for Logistics, Africa Command. Honorable Hannah S. Tete, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Republic of Ghana, for the government of Ghana. So we signed this agreement, and based on the two agreements, the Americans have put them together and proposed a new agreement for us to sign. When I realized that Ghana had entered into these two agreements, all I needed to find out from the Americans was, and satisfy myself, was whether what they are seeking to do will constitute a base, what they are looking for. And I can say, ladies and gentlemen, that I have written reply from the Americans that it's not a base, they have not asked for a base, and they don't intend to ask for a base. So when I satisfied myself that what they were looking for was not a military base, and that they were looking for some facilities in line with this particular agreement that we have signed, I then said that it will be out of protocol and international agreement not to go ahead with this agreement after 8 months. And so we will then go ahead with the agreements only on two conditions. One, that we have to renegotiate some of the terms, and two, that we'll take it to Parliament before we sign it. These were the two conditions I gave them. That yes, we've already signed the 1988 agreement, we've signed the 2015 agreement, we have already caught ourselves in this net, we cannot back out because this is just a combination of the two agreements, but that I will urge them and let them know that my minister will clean up this agreement and negotiate to remove certain things and bring in the new authority into it, because everything was by their orders, their own orders. It had nothing to do with Ghana. Ghana virtually didn't have a role to play. So I insisted that it will not be fair to the people of Ghana for us to carry this and sign it in this way. So we'll have to clean it up. And so the Americans brought an 11-member team to this office. We provided a 12-member team that comprised of Foreign Affairs, Finance Ministry, Attorney General, National Security, Interior Ministry, the Armed Forces, and my ministry to form a 12-member team to negotiate in this very hall in which we are sitting down. The Americans were here, led by a general, and my team was here, and they did the negotiations. I came to open and close it. Of course, I wasn't part of it. But they did the negotiation and agreed to insert certain clauses and certain things. When we then finished in September, I wrote a cabinet memo to cabinet that this agreement we have, and we are seeking cabinet to approve of it for us to take to Parliament. Because remember, I said that if it doesn't go to Parliament, I won't sign it. And that will be the first time that these military agreements will have to be taken to the people to be determined. Remember that we had, in 1998, we signed we are going to Parliament, and some darkness and secrecy. In 2015, we did a similar thing by our then foreign minister. And so they put the two together and brought it for us to sign. I did clean it up, took it to cabinet. It laid in cabinet from September till last Thursday, when cabinet also approved of it and asked me to take it to Parliament. So let me make some things clear. The Americans are not looking for a base. No. The agreed facilities, and let me read what the agreed facilities are. That's what we call Annex A. The people of Ghana have been looking for what we call Annex A. I'll read it today for you. Annex A, list of agreed facilities and areas in Ghana. 1, exercise or operation support area. They call some place exercise or operation support area. So if you see exercise or operation support area, what I'm going to read is what they're talking about, which is for exclusive use of the Americans. It's located at the Ghana military base adjacent to the Kotoka International Airport. See picture 2 in the appendix. So there is a building by the Air Force Base in Accra that they are looking for, and that's why they pulled it out for all of us to see, and that is what they are talking about, a facility there for them to use, to store their things and manage that facility because their items will be there. 2, primary parking area for joint use. Ghana can use it, they can also use it. That's why they use some place joint use. Located at the Ghana military facility adjacent to the Kotoka International Airport. See picture 1. Where they will be parking their aircrafts, Ghana can also park the aircrafts there. That is where they're talking of primary parking space. That when they bring an aircraft, we should allow them to be able to park there. So we have a facility there, and then we have a parking area. United States Forces, 3, United States Forces and United States contractors may access and use a runway located at the Kotoka International Airport. See picture 1. The runway we have, we should be able to allow them to use that runway to fly and land. Because remember that in the US, they don't use civilian, the military don't use civilian airports. They have their dedicated airports. So they are saying that in the case of Ghana, we have only one airport in Kotoka. Meanwhile, they want to land there. So they are asking us permission to allow them to use the military aircraft to land at that airport through the runway. So these are the facilities they are looking for. Nothing more, nothing less. As for the issue of tax, it has been dealt with in the original agreement we have with them. We gave it out. The use of weapons, the use of ID cards, we gave everything out in 1998. So there are no newities. The issue of death, the issue of compensation, we gave everything out in 1998. It's not a new thing. The only new thing is what they are asking for, that in the fact that we are going to do 4 joint exercises with them this year, and similarly, they will continue to do that for a long time to come, and their numbers will increase in these exercises. Ubangami, which is currently taking place, Operation United Accord will be coming. We'll be training their forces in Jungle Welfare School. And then they'll be training us in what we call guided approach, which has to do with our preparedness for natural disasters, earthquakes, and floods, how to control these things. They'll be bringing a lot of soldiers into Ghana. So they want a place where when these soldiers come, they will not have to be struggling with space with the embassy. They want a space at the airport to be able to put their staff there. And so they asked for this facility. They asked for a place to park their aircraft, and they asked us to allow them to be able to land with their aircraft using the runway. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the story. There is nothing called a military base. The Americans are not building any military base here. The Americans are not bringing soldiers to come and stay here with us. They will stay as long as the exercise is going on. If the exercise will be there for 4 weeks, they will stay and do it. And they're already doing that anyway. And then they'll go back. For travel documents, we are the people who signed this note verbal, which is already ongoing. What they have done is just include what we have already agreed to, and then it is ongoing. So basically, that is the agreement we have. The difference today is that this government decided to take it to Parliament. Because the taxes we are talking about has already been given. And they don't pay taxes anyway in all the imports that they have because of what we did before in 1998 under this same constitution. So let nobody think that a government could not have hidden under the cover of security and signed tax waivers without passing through Parliament. We took the conscious decision to take this matter to Parliament, even before we append our signature to it, so that today and tomorrow, the people of Ghana will decide which is the best way to go. And I think this government should be applauded for that brave decision, not to hide like what others have done, but to take it to Parliament so that we will know what we have entered into. 1998, we did hide ourselves. We did the wrong thing. In 2015, we did the same thing. We were hiding. And 2018, a new government comes and says, no, we will take the agreement to Parliament. So when somebody says that, oh, it was a secret document, no secret document goes to Parliament. I wrote a memo heading towards Parliament, and each member of the 275 MPs will get a copy. They cannot call this a secret document. Never. If we wanted to hide, we'll not take it to Parliament. We would have just assumed that, well, all these are being given, and so we'll sign it and it will go. But we didn't do that. We insisted to the Americans that we'll take it to Parliament. So there is nothing that is new that we haven't signed in this agreement, except the facility we are giving them at the Air Force Base and the fact that they can use the runway. And that when you give them the facility, you should allow them to control access to that facility, which I think is right. Because once you've given them the facility and they put their things, we cannot control access to that facility. How do you expect people, you're giving a facility like a bonder warehouse, they put their staff there, they put their military equipment there, you say, no, give me the key to hold, I will control it. Of course, it is just normal that the person who you have handed over that facility to and he has put his things, they would control it. So I want to thank you very much for coming. I am open for clarifications. If there's any other question that somebody wants to ask, I'll be very happy to answer that question. But that is exactly what the situation is. Parliament is currently considering the agreement, and there's nothing to it. What happened was people got it wrong. People thought it was a base and got it wrong. And it brought this whole brouhaha. There's nothing new to it. Ghana is not the only country that has signed it. Senegal signed it on May 2nd, 2016. Kenya has it, Nigeria has it, South Korea has it, Spain has it, UK has it, France has it. Most countries have it. They have it with over 52 countries. We are just part of the number of countries that they are proposed these things to. They will have it with Togo, they will have it with Gabon as the next phase. So it is not about military base. It's not about Ghana being so attractive that they want a military base. It's not true. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before I open the floor for questions, I want to make a point that is related to this matter, but not exactly on the matter. I want to make an important point regarding our governance system in Ghana and the integrity of the democratic systems that we have set in place to govern ourselves. And I speak about this matter very passionately. The penchant by the NDC for undermining the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana is very dangerous for our democracy. Parliaments are the unique institutions that distinguish democratic governments from non-democratic governments. Under military dictatorships and so on, the judiciary is there, there's always cabinet, there's executive. But dictatorships don't have parliaments. So parliaments are a very unique feature of democratic societies and must be guarded jealously and respected. Now, this is the second time that a document goes to the House of the Representatives of the People, and then NDC elements in that parliament rush these documents to the media, to social media, to public spaces, in order to either undercut, undermine, or destroy the credibility of the debate and discussions that will be going on in that parliament. How can you be a member of parliament and be leaking documents that are meant for discussion in that parliament to the press in order to, if you want, generate public discourse and, if you want, excite opprobrium for the government of the day. When you do that, you are undermining the very house from which you derive your legitimacy as a participant in our democratic process. Because what is your legitimacy? Your legitimacy is that you are an NDC member of parliament. So if there is no parliament or the credibility of parliament is destroyed, your legitimacy as a human being in our democratic process is also gone. And therefore, I am just using this opportunity to call on the NDC to be decorous, to begin to respect the sanctity of parliament. That when government takes a document to parliament, because that document, from what the minister has been saying, has been in this ministry for more than 8 months. That's number one. And we have operators in this ministry. They didn't leak it to the press. After that, it went to cabinet and stayed around the cabinet secretariat for another maybe 4 months or whatever. And the day that we take it to parliament, in order for the representatives of the people to discuss it, NDC elements in the parliament then take the document, photocopy it, and throw it into the public space when even the debate in parliament has not started. I don't think that is the way to run a democracy. When we were in opposition, we were very responsible to know that you don't undermine parliament in this way. So I am just calling on the leadership of parliament that this attitude and this habit has to stop. And it is perhaps the reason why when they were in power, agreements like this, they never took it to parliament. But we are not about to do that. We want to continue as a government to respect the sanctity of parliament, and we will continue to send agreements that border on the interests of our citizens to parliament. But you, the media, must also help us in calling the NDC out on this behavior, so that when they leak documents that are yet to be discussed in parliament to you in order to generate a public discussion ahead of the parliament, you tell them that this is not correct. You have the opportunity and the forum in parliament. Please make your point in parliament. After all, the media is always in parliament. You are all of these media houses. You have your representation in parliament. And therefore, you cover parliamentary producing. So they could have made all these arguments they are making on radio inside the parliament. But why do they want to have debates? Then if they want us to dissolve parliament and do a free-for-all type of democracy where we are all sitting on radio and trading, if you want, illogicalities, then let's do that. But that is not the arrangement that we have. Please, I am just making this point. Please help us to all run our country and run it in a very decent manner. That when the NDC people take parliamentary documents and bring to you, you tell them that please, once it is a document that the government has brought to parliament, let's have the parliamentary debate first, and then we can come back into the public space and continue with that debate. But right now, all these debates have been had in the public space already. Meanwhile, we are now purporting to be sitting in parliament in a defense and interior committee. What again are we talking about in the interior and defense committee? As far as I'm concerned, they've undermined the credibility of whatever discussions are going to take in parliament and prejudiced and polluted and poisoned the atmosphere. And I just thought that today I should call the NDC out on this attitude. It is not good for our democracy. Thank you very much.
Live visuals there from the Defense Ministry. You just heard the Information Minister speak there. He speaks right after the Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwul, speaks. Well, basically, the point that the Defense Minister is making in clarification on this very controversial matter is that what they're providing the U.S. government in terms of this agreement is nothing new. It basically has been existing since 1998. An agreement was signed on the 23rd of February 1998. It was renewed in 2015 under the leadership of Hannah Tete at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And this really is nothing. The only different thing that has been added in this year's renewal of that agreement is the addition of the Air Force Base, giving the United States government access, free, unrestricted access to the Air Force Base and space at the parking space at the airport. the use of their weapons, ID cards, etc., they've all already been in existence. Well, you've had the defense minister, the information minister also make quite some categorical statements there. Maybe we should listen to the defense minister on his perhaps concluding remarks or answer to some questions.
As part of that agreement. For example, in the original agreement, it was there that if you have a gun, you can carry a gun if given out by your orders. And that is what is captured in the 1998 agreement. That once they give out orders, they can carry a gun. I insisted that no, you have to consult the appropriate Ghanaian authorities, which in this case is not my ministry, but the Interior Ministry. Because the Interior Ministry is the one that gives a license for you to carry a sidearm in Ghana. That is a major departure from what was placed in front of me. Two, that in the issue of a license, when you have a license to drive, you must consult the appropriate Ghanaian authorities. In this case, Ministry of Transport, DVLA. It's not my ministry. So what I'm trying to say is that the issue of tax exemptions, you needed to consult the appropriate Ghanaian authority, Parliament and Ministry of Finance. So in all that I sought to do was to ensure that the Americans consulted the appropriate Ghanaian authorities. That did not find its reflection in the original agreement. And the original agreement is not just this one, but the draft that they brought to my office. And the draft of that one was based on this agreement and the 1998 agreement and the agreement that Honorable Hannah Tete signed in Stuttgart, Germany. We had to clean it up to allow the Ghanaian authorities to have a say in what happens when the Americans are operating. That's the difference. I thank you.
Yeah, you were next. No, let me take him. I'll come. Then you, Ted.
Okay. The other security experts, private security experts, or other security experts who have made comment about this deal are saying that the deal will open the eyes of tourist groups of Ghana. What is your comment on that? And the minority is also saying that government is selling Ghana for mere $20 million. Where from that money and what is the
First of all, there's no way in the agreement that says we are signing because of 20 million Ghana. So the minority completely got it wrong. That's the first thing. What we have always said is that this year alone, the Americans are spending over 20 million Ghana of their $20 million of their taxpayers' money in supporting the armed forces. I've never said we are signing because of that. There is no way in the agreement that says you sign because of money. So they got it wrong. Secondly, there is no big difference between the 1998 agreement plus the 2015 agreement and what we have brought before Parliament. That were signed by the NDC.
Exactly.
They did attract terrorists into Ghana. Where were those particular security experts? They didn't see anything wrong when those things were signed. Why were they not saying it before? Why are they not criticizing the NDC government for signing secret documents when the people of Ghana didn't even know? Between the two governments, who is more responsible?
Absolutely.
The one that is taking it to Parliament for all of us to know that we have these agreements, or the one that secretly did it? I leave it to the people of Ghana to judge. And I want the security experts to have every side of the picture before commenting. They don't have these documents. I believe so. The majority of them don't even know that these documents exist. Then people will just wake up. They don't know the two sides of the coin. They look at one side, they start commenting. Now, today, I am saying to you that get these documents and read them and ask questions why Hannah Tete signed this without bringing it to the people of Ghana. It's like give more too. At the blind side of the people of Ghana, why do you go to sign? And the Americans base their preamble on this document that you have signed with us, so we are bringing a different agreement. You have also signed. If these documents were not there, I don't think the Americans would have based this agreement on this. They may have started from a lower angle, but they are starting from a higher angle because we have signed the original two documents.
Yeah, I said 3, yeah. And then I will take you 4. And then last man 5. And then I'll come to you 6.
My name is Mark.
We're still live at the Defense Ministry where the minister is answering some questions. He was just answering a question about whether or not Ghana is getting $20 million from this agreement. He says, first of all, they're not giving anything like a $20 million package, and basically about how much they've put in training or into training as far as their relationship with us is concerned. Well, earlier on, the Minister for Information has been accusing NDC MPs of leaking the information. He thinks that they're doing so to undermine Parliament. And of course, he's calling on the NDCs. He says this is a time for him to call out the NDCs, asking them to be decorous. And that's quite a categorical statement. He's also urging the media to, well, not take such information when it is leaked. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Let's go back to the ministry now. He's answering some more questions.
It doesn't constitute a military base. In fact, we can stage and deploy forces in Bondasi. It's not a military Kita. It's not a military base. As long as a vehicle can fly, a vehicle in this sense, the aircraft can fly to say Tamale, they can stage and deploy forces there. What they are trying to let you know is that you must have an agreement such that if Americans are bringing 100 soldiers, 200 soldiers, they can land in Ghana and deploy them. You are bringing 100 soldiers to come and do training at Ashanti, but in the agreement, you don't have a situation where they can bring these 100 soldiers and deploy them to come and train with the Ghanaian soldiers. So let's wash our minds off from the fact that it is about bad things. No. It's about cooperation between Ghana and the US. Because anytime these soldiers are coming, they will have to come and stage them in Ghana and deploy them to go to the field. So what they are saying is that I want you to have an agreement where I can stage my soldiers and deploy them, because they deploy them on orders, to go to Bandasi and train with the Ghanaian soldiers, to go to Achansi and train with the Ghanaian soldiers, to be able to have to manage disaster. You know, don't let us look at peacetime. God forbid if there's a war time, for example, and the US decides that, or there's a disaster in Ghana like Haiti, and the US decide that they want to come and stage forces and deploy, and they don't have this agreement, how are they going to stage the forces and deploy? Because this is a military agreement, it's not a civilian agreement. So when, for example, there is a natural disaster in Ghana today, and you don't have an agreement that can allow the US to come and land and deploy soldiers, how are they going to do it? So staging soldiers and deploying them is not tantamount to military base. It's to enable them to take an action that will be beneficial to us as a country. And remember that whatever they are going to do should be within the confines of this agreement. And there's nothing in this agreement that says that America can fight a war using this agreement. No. Attack an enemy using this agreement. No. There's nothing like that. So I don't know where all this is coming from. Secondly, in military agreements, it is a year-by-year thing. Today we'll have, this year we're going to have 4 series of training, bilateral trainings with them. Next year it may be a different thing. The next year it may be a different thing. For example, this year and next year they're going to give us an APC. Maybe the next year it will be a hospital, level 2 hospital. Maybe the next year it will be an aeroplane, you never know. So they cannot put different benefits into this. What they tell you is that both nations will benefit with mutual understanding and training capacities that they are going to do here. What I'm just saying to you is to point out to you that US is a partner. That benefit I'm talking to you is just to let you know that US is a partner and not a foe. So this year alone, they are giving us a grant of about $20 million for us to use to equip our armed forces in terms of capacity, in terms of training, in terms of that, in terms of peacekeeping. That's all that I say to you.
So can I establish that 20 million is part of that?
I'm saying that we are already benefiting from the US and we'll continue to benefit from the US because we have an agreement with them and we will benefit from each other. We train them, they train us, and they do it in Ghana, they don't do it in the US. And so when their soldiers are coming here, they expect that we'll give them some little benefits and ability to be able to move within. Did you ever know the US soldiers were here doing training and they did 3 different trainings in Ghana? Do you ever see them? You will not know. So I can assure the people of Ghana that after this agreement, you will not even know the US soldiers are in Ghana. because they are confined. They are not like civilians who move around in town. They move by orders, and they are confined. So they come and do training for 2-3 weeks, and they go back. It is when you have a problem like disaster that you will see them come to help you because of this agreement. That's why you need friends. God forbid if somebody were to attack us, and because of this agreement, they will assist us. That's all that it means. That when we have a disaster, we have something we can say, oh, but this agreement, so you have the responsibility to come and assist us with equipment, with vehicles, with this. It's to our own benefit. That's why countries like Senegal, Nigeria, and Co, they don't hesitate signing it. They never even looked at it to clean it up. They signed it immediately because the benefit is enormous. We are lagging behind. I don't want to talk. This is national TV, but I can tell you we are lagging behind now. Look at Rwanda after 1994. See what is happening in Rwanda. And I'll leave it at that.
I would let the Vice President has summoned me to see him immediately. So I'll let my deputy sit in the chair and do the rest of the moderation. Please come and sit down. I had called you next. And then after that, I had called the young man in pink shirt, if my sense of color is correct. And then you...
My name is Melvin. You said 2015, I signed the agreement. 1998, can you tell us who signed it? 2, you made mention of the fact that you send it to Parliament. Before you send it to Parliament, you try to clean it up. Can you tell us what you claim from the agreement? What were there that were there that you have to take off?
I think the last question I answered it that the original document did not have a lot of input from the Ghanaian authorities, like DVLA, like Minister of Interior, like Minister of Finance. But if you see that the appropriate Ghanaian authorities, we have to bring it to ensure that whatever they wanted to do, they will consult with the appropriate Ghanaian authorities. Unlike the 98 one, the tax waivers were given. They did not consult Minister of Finance. They could carry guns. They did not consult Ministry of the Interior. They could drive with, they could come into Ghana with an ID card. They did not consult Minister of Foreign Affairs. But we are insisting that in doing all this, they must make sure they consult the Minister of the various authorities in Ghana. Secondly, the note verbal was between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Embassy of the United States of America. Note verbals are seals. They signed with a seal. So the Minister of Foreign Affairs represented Ghana at that time. So whoever was the Minister of Foreign Affairs at that time is the one who authorized the note verbal and said that whatever the Americans have proposed, they agree, and that it is tantamount to an agreement. 2, Hannah Tete signed the 2015 one. After that one, the signature is there, and we can leave these documents for you to have if you don't mind. It is that because of what he said the NDC did, all these military secrets now in these agreements have become public knowledge. If they hadn't done that, I'm not sure these agreements will have all come out. But today, we have opened ourselves so much so that everybody will read whatever agreements we have on the internet. Even agreements that the NDC thought were secrets and they were hiding, today, because of what they did, today is now out. And you can take your time and read the 1998 one and compare to this and see whether there's a difference. They just lifted the 1998 one plus this one and decided that we should sign. And something that you have already signed, then you then say you won't sign. On what basis will you say you don't sign? The best you can do for this country is to clean it up, and that's what we did, and take it to Parliament so that the people will know what is going on. Because the president is a president who will not try to hide anything from the people of Ghana. Every international agreement, we'll take it to Parliament. We will not do what they did.
My name is Skoda from Ghana. I think my friend's question still stands. Apart from the broader consultation that you have undertaken, what other things or what other inputs have you reached across? Or what have you added? What have you changed? And what are you hoping to change in the cross? Because you can give some assertion that the net benefit of the agreement is more weighted to the US base than the Ghana. So what is it that you are putting forward in the interest of Ghana?
I said something that if you look at the agreement that was signed in 1988, nothing stops us as a country from having different agreements with different countries. And we do. In fact, we have different agreements with different countries. I think it's about time that Ghana also begins to emanate and begins to put forward agreements with other countries that we initiate ourselves. We have agreement with Japan, we have agreement with Spain, we have agreement with different countries that we have signed as a country. But I'm saying to you that in this particular agreement, the most important thing was to ensure that there was a respect for the laws of Ghana and the authorities of Ghana in this particular agreement. And it's very fundamental to the changes that were made. I don't know whether the benefit you are talking is monetary that you are looking for. I have mentioned the changes several times. And I'm saying I don't know whether we are expecting monetary benefits. But the benefit to us is that in the training, the two nations benefit. We are training them, they will train us. That's the mutual benefit that both benefit. And the fact that the US cannot just come to Ghana, unlike the 98 one, and start holding guns outside, but that they will consult with the appropriate authorities, Minister of Interior. And that will not give them a blanket tax waiver, but that they will consult with the Minister of Finance and Parliament. And that they will not just bring their driver's license, but that they will consult with DVLA, which we have put in there, appropriate authorities. I don't think there could have been any better thing than to ensure that our laws and our agencies are respected in this country. I don't know what else you were expecting, but if you can suggest what else you were expecting to see, which you call a benefit, I'll be willing to accept. But like I said to you today, we are not signing this agreement because the US are helping us with the resources. We are signing because we are partners and we want to be partners with them. And this agreement is a standard agreement. They have not varied it because of Ghana. It's a standard agreement. The only difference in the agreement signed around the world is that we insisted that they should consult our authorities in Ghana in each of the cases I have said. That's the only difference between us and Senegal or any other country. That's the difference. If you look at the Senegal agreement, which is there, I pulled it out yesterday, you will see a very similar one. Spain, the same similar one. But the difference is that we have insisted that at every step they should consult our authorities. It's as simple as that. I don't know whether we wanted to be put inside that the US will build this, they will build this, they will build this. I don't think that you will find yourself in that because it's not the way military things are captured. You do the master agreement, and based on that, you can then negotiate and have partners that, look, we have an agreement with you, this is what we need. We have an agreement with you, this is not. And it is not you and me who negotiate, it's the armed forces through my ministry that negotiate. So all the negotiations, for example, that the US have had with us, and I'll give you a few of them. For example, African Peace Rapid Response Partnership, they'll give us 20 million. It is the armed forces that negotiated with the US. Humanitarian assistance, they'll give us 4.7 million. It is the Americans, it is the armed forces that negotiated with us. What we call humanitarian assistance? It says it is designed to improve visibility, access, and influence, as well as promote regional stability with foreign military. They'll give us. It's the armed forces that negotiated with them. For example, foreign military financing. The grant is helping to repair the Ghana Navy Defender class boat. It is the armed forces that negotiated with them because we are going to have all these agreements. Military exercises, 4 of them, is the armed forces that negotiated with them. And others, I can list all of them. But all that I'm trying to say to you is that you will not find this one in the main agreement. Once you have this agreement, then based on that, we can negotiate for whatever we want. It's as simple as that. That's the benefit I'm saying. That the Americans can also come like they have access for general welfare training. We will train them. So it's a mutual agreement between the two.
Please ask.
You mentioned the tax rate. The earlier agreement, we were meant to believe that there was going to be tax exemption. And the big question is, or the big question Ghanaians are asking is that as a country, you are not able to even meet our targets. So why wouldn't the government use it as an opportunity to know that some benefits to ensure that the materials you are bringing into the country, there will be some taxes associated.
The difficulty I have with your question is that we have already signed to it in 1998. I think I read it that finally the embassy proposes that both governments waive any and all claims against each other loss or destruction of properties of the Ministry of Defense and death, okay, that one is different. I also said that they said that duties, official duties at the ports and the airports cannot be taxed. I think I read that for you. That unfortunately, before you and myself may have got into government, I got into government, and maybe before you became a journalist in 1998, that has been signed by Ghana. And trust me, you have to respect international agreements. It's not as if it's a new thing. It's already signed. So people who are jumping already and talking and inciting people are the very people who signed it and put Ghana where we are today. They are the very people who signed it. And I can leave this for you. I can leave this for you. I can leave this for you. So that we'll make equal judgments. All that I want to tell you is that people should put the interest of the country first. Once you have been in government, you must always realize that you have to put the interest of the country first. You don't go and sign things and turn around to let it look like somebody else is a devil. You are an angel. You are not. In fact, the devil you want to seek is rather helping you by being an angel. Because in this case, you went and signed things in the dark. No, the people of Ghana didn't know that you signed that if, like Kosi Pratt has been saying, if a Ghanaian soldier dies, you cannot hold an American. It is there. Tell Kosi Pratt that it is already there. In 1998, we signed it. You can, if anybody has a friend, can go and give to him. We signed it. It's already working. It's not a new thing. The duties, we signed it in 1998. It's already there. You cannot take him to court. It's already there. Driving license is already there. Bringing ID card is already there. So let all of them know that all the things they're shouting about are already in the agreement that we agreed in 1998. Then Hanatete also secretly went and signed another agreement in 2015. And based on that, the US are saying we put the two together and this is the agreement. So officially sign it for us. If you are in my shoe, what do? You do what I've done. Clean it up, take it to Parliament, and if Parliament so thinks that it is a good agreement, we'll go with it. I haven't signed any agreement yet. I was telling the MPs today that conventionally we have signed the agreement and taken it to Parliament, but this time we refused. The official procedure would have been that we have signed the agreement and taken it to Parliament for ratification, but we refused. We said we will take it to Parliament to go through the system before we sign. That's the difference between us and them in this particular case of the agreement. I think you should applaud us. We have done well. Rather than try to chastise us and say, oh, we have sold Ghana. We haven't sold Ghana. They sold Ghana. They are the people who sold Ghana in the dark. We could have gone the route they went. We could have done it. 2 years ago, Hanatete sold us. That's what they did, not us. 98, they sold us, not us. At least we are letting the people of Ghana know what is in there for them. That's the difference between us. I thank you for coming. May God bless you all.
So you're just seeing what is happening, or what's the explanation that we're getting from the Defense Ministry there. The Defense Minister says this is nothing new. There's just been a little addition which requires that we give the U.S. military some extra access to our facilities here in Ghana. And of course, we had the Information Minister there calling out the NDC, as he puts it. He says that, well, the NDC MPs are leaking information to Ghanaians, and that it defeats the integrity of Parliament. He's also asking media practitioners to reject such leakages, but like I indicated earlier, it doesn't really work that way. Along the line, we'll bring you some more analysis on this and on the substantive matter. What are the implications for such an agreement on Ghana so that it doesn't get unnecessarily politicized? My name is Gifty Ando Apia.